what we're doing today is Devin and I are talking about Genesis 2.0, Mammoth Hunters in Siberia, which is a documentary that we both went into blind. But this ties a little into chapter 2 of the sixth extinction, deals a lot with mastodons. I know this is something that you were interested in watching. We both watched it, so I'll let you talk for a minute or a while. What did you think, Devin?
I actually really liked it. I was not at all expecting what it was. So going in, like you said, I had no idea really what it was about. I had a vague idea, but I actually thought it was a really interesting look at a part of the world that I have never really done much research on, and a look into a way of life that I knew nothing about. I didn't even know that there was such a thing as mammoth hunters. And I thought it was really, really well done. And the cinematography itself was beautiful. Some of the long shots of Siberia were absolutely gorgeous. And the story that they follow was also just really fascinating on its own too. So I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, that is. So this documentary, which we say it's a documentary, it's not a film. Or did you already say that? You probably already said that. I don't know. My whole brain is really foggy. I could dump so much coffee into myself and still feel like I need more. Yeah, you talk about the photography in the cinematography in Siberia. That part of this documentary is so beautiful to look at that I can see in the description that's on Canopy, they say it's Werner Herzog meets so and so. Having watched a number of documentaries that Werner Herzog has done, I totally can get why they say that. I mean, tonally and maybe subject matter for the guys in Siberia, desperate to find some kind of mammoth tusk. That kind of rings true for anyone that wants to watch like a Werner Herzog-esque documentary. But yeah, there's it's kind of got a couple different points it's trying to make here. This documentary goes a lot into these guys that are just going off into these remote islands north of Siberia, and they are just digging into the ground trying to find as large and as intact mammoth tusks and other remains as they can. And then it switches over to, they're talking a lot about cloning. Like that's why it's called Genesis 2.0 is a lot of this has to do with cloning of the woolly mammoth, cloning of other animals, cloning of humans, and then other kinds of genetic silliness, some Island of Dr. Moreau kind of stuff. We were just talking about South Park before we went live, but there's a whole fun, ridiculous trope about the Island of Dr. Moreau on South Park. You know, we go into ligers, and then Zorses, and then whatever else. I don't know. What did you think about that whole side story of this, where when we stopped talking about the guys that are hunting for mammoth bones, and we're talking about like these other folks that are doing all this genetic coding, genetic manipulation?
So I was surprised that it actually included that aspect of it. It's not what I expected going in at all. But I thought it was really fascinating to look at an area of science I personally was not super familiar with. And I guess I wasn't aware of how many strides they had made in that field over the course of the last decade. It's kind of shocking to see in the documentary. They have a company that clones dogs, and to see how well and how easy it seems to be now for them to do this was kind of incredible. And the idea that we could have a woolly mammoth walking around at some point just seems really, really strange. And I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah, no, I think that's the whole thing is people trying to wrestle with how they feel about it. There's one guy, the Swedish guy, that's part of well, when he goes and visits the Chinese China National Gene Bank or whatever it's called,
Yeah.
and he's asking about, you know, the idea of knowing the predisposition of certain illnesses in your genes, and then terminating pregnancies based on that, and how that's going to really clash with Western and European ethics. But there's a whole lot of kind of editorializing. I feel like whoever directed this, I can look up now. How about you go to Canopy from the Edwardsville Public Library's website, edwardsvillelibrary.org, and look up the director for Genesis 2.0. But they do a lot of interesting stuff when they are playing some really brooding, ominous music while they're at this college convention where all these students are kind of competing at some kind of genetic engineering. I don't know if it's competition or if it's just kind of a convention or a conference. But yeah, this documentary definitely plays some music that really is trying to give you a certain emotional reaction, or kind of dictating your emotional reaction by playing this very ominous music. So yeah, I guess what makes this relevant to the Sixth Extinction is of the two brothers that we spent a lot of time with, the Grigoriev brothers, you've got, and this is kind of the through line where we bring the two worlds of mammoth hunters looking for tusks and geneticists trying to clone a woolly mammoth. Is there's these two brothers, the Grigorievs. One of the brothers just goes to those islands north of Siberia, in northern Siberia, and he's just looking for tusks. And then you have the brother who's a scientist who actually is trying to make the first clone of a woolly mammoth. But there's Semyon, or and then Peter. Peter's the one who says at some point that when you go out and find a big tusk that might be worth $40,000, it's kind of greed that makes you want more and more. And it's kind of interesting. You see these guys out there hunting for mammoths, going out and finding remains, and it just makes you think like these mammoths must have been hunted like in life and in death. It's just interesting, like it's mankind that just wants more and more. And I think that's kind of what this is getting at is, through either malintent or by accident, a lot of these extinctions of plant life, animal life, whatever else, is largely, at least indirectly, if not directly, caused by just human involvement or human movement. Do you just? I mean, I don't know. I guess I should have just posed this as a question. Sam, I mean, would you agree with that?
I would. Yeah, definitely.
And I don't know. What did you think that this documentary was trying to make a point of something? Because what did you think of like all the crazy music that they played in certain parts where it's like, is this a
Yeah.
horror movie? Are we watching like, is this Michael Myers going to jump out here?
Yeah, like it felt like they were trying to build this sense of foreboding almost. This kind of idea of, okay, look at where we are now and look at what we could do. And is this really a path that we want to follow? Do we really want to bring back these extinct gigantic creatures just because we can?
Yeah, I guess if this were a Michael Moore documentary, he would actually say, do we really want to go down this road? Do we really? And then he'd show, I don't know what he'd show, but yeah, this kind of avoided that. We do have some weird narrators at the beginning. I don't think we ever get explained why there's a woman whispering very also weird, threatening, like Medusa like dialogue into the voiceover. Yeah, I don't know. Canopy as a service with your Edwardsville library card, you get 5 credits a month. You can only watch so many documentaries. If you go to edwardsvillelibrary.org and you go to the blue ribbon that says ebooks and more, and you click that, and then you click Canopy, and you were to search for something, do you think Genesis 2.0 would be worth one of your 5 download credits?
I personally really liked it.
Okay.
I would watch it on my own. I thought it was really beautifully captured. I mean, it's just gorgeous. And the story that they're following of these two brothers and these kind of alternating perspectives of being out in the field and actually getting mammoth bones and then trying to clone them or just process them and figure out, from a scientific perspective, what can we do with this. I thought it was really interesting, so I would definitely watch it.
Yeah, I think I'm. If it were the last week of the month and I have at least 1 or 2 download credits left, I would spend it on this one. Maybe not if I have one more and I got 3.5 weeks left in the month. So I'm okay with the movie. I think the documentary, it goes on a little long, and I'm not exactly sure how I feel about the way it's presented. But it's also, as far as the whole aspect of cloning, there's a really I don't know, much more like human look at the idea of cloning. I think it was season 2 of This American Life. So This American Life, the classic NPR audio show with Ira Glass, they actually made a video series, and I think it was either on HBO or Showtime. And there's one where Ira goes out to this ranch in Texas, and they had this bull that was like this, prized bull that this older gentleman owned. And when it was called Chance. The first bull was called Chance. So when the clone was born, they named him Second Chance. And then so it's his whole. And the episode only lasts like a half hour, if that. He's really trying to, wrestle with this cloned bull, Second Chance, and how this bull is a little different than what he remembers his first chance being like. And so that's interesting. I mean, we get a little bit of that here. We get a whole lot in this deck, this Genesis 2.0 Mammoth Hunters in Siberia. Yeah, I think if nothing else, taking in the whole part of the Mammoth Hunters, they're just people that are hunting for tusks and, bones, mostly just tusks, in northern Siberia. And I guess we didn't say what it's for. I don't know if it's spoilers to say it's really just for like prize money. They're selling them directly to people, investors or traders in China that are going to be selling them to be made into either expensive artwork or jewelry or some other kind of souvenirs. I don't know if this is, some things get used as some kind of holistic medicinal use, like you grind up the powder of horns for rhinos or for tusks or anything. Have you heard of all this usage for? Yeah, it might be used for that, but they definitely mention just artwork, jewelry, souvenirs. So it's not as if all the stuff that's going on up here is for research or to benefit science. It's just for these guys to make money because they're in a very desperate living. And so it captures these guys up there, and it's beautiful to look at. So I don't know. So Devin's on board with using your credit for Canopy. I think I am, kinda. We usually, when we talk about books, we talk about the Goodreads score. So and so stars out of 5. Let's just pretend that this exists. Letterboxd. Do you ever use Letterboxd? It's for
No.
movies. It's basically Goodreads for movies, and you could rate things out of 5 stars. So what would you give this on Letterboxd out of 5 stars?
I'd give it a 4.
Okay, that's good. That's a B plus or a B, whatever.
Yeah, I'd give it a 4.
Okay, I would say 3. Maybe if I could give it like a 2.8 or 2.9, I'll say 3.
Okay,
so, it's fine. It's solid.
Yeah.
So anyway, anything else you want to say about Genesis 2.0?
I will say, just touching on what you had mentioned about these pieces getting sold, I thought it was really interesting to find out that they go through all of this work to find these pieces of tusk to then sell them. And these pieces, once they're finished and they usually go for $1 million, maybe more. And the men that are out here finding it only sometimes get $700, something, so minuscule, just a couple $100 for these. And it was kind of heartbreaking, honestly.
Yeah, that is heartbreaking. I figured they'd get more of a cut of that. But as far as the artwork goes, when you're buying one of those carved tusks, like it's worth looking at just the pictures they show, where it's the most ornate, crazy, like it's, they carve all that out of, it's a one-piece sculpture that's made up of all these little figures and everything all in one huge tusk. It's impressive to look at. So I could see an art collector spending an insane amount of money on that. So
Yeah, I can't too.
Well, that ties, like I said, closely into chapter 2 of The Sixth Extinction. The Mastodon's Molars would be the chapter there. We've got discussions on our Goodreads group about chapters 1 and 2, in addition to the prologue. Over the course of 6 weeks, we're going to be talking about this entire book, but we got it kind of separated out into little bite-sized chunks so that everyone, even someone that reads as slow as I do, to join along and kind of prolong the conversation. I don't say prolong, just say drag it out, but let's just pace ourselves. Let's just take our time. Let's get a feel. We're gonna read 16, but we're also gonna make time to watch some Halloween movies, watch these documentaries. We're not gonna, as part of this grant, talk about Halloween movies, but if you want to say, in this chat here, start talking to me about, Friday the 13th, I'm not gonna stop you. If you have any questions, if someone's asking in chat right now, if you want to say, hey, what's the best horror movie all time or best Halloween movie, I'll tell you, but I won't until you ask. Anyway, Devin, thank you for joining me on this little chat, and thanks for picking. You're the one who picked this out, and I think I'm a tough grader. I'm a tough rater for books, movies, whatever. So 3.0 out of 5 for me is like actually pretty decent. So I hope you don't think, and hope anyone else watching this, that I hope you don't think that I'm disappointed in Devin's choice. I think this was definitely something interesting and something that you wouldn't find on a lot of other streaming sites. It's Canopy and all the cool stuff that Canopy has to offer.